Sonic, you finally found your family.
Try to keep up.
I know it hasn't always been easy, but you didn't change who you are in here.
Yeah, in my lungs.
Or your heart.
There's been a high-level security breach. And we need Team Sonic's immediate assistance. Project Shadow is far beyond anything we've ever encountered.
Shadow's story began a lot like yours, Sonic. But where you found family and friends, Shadow found only pain and loss.
All right, we got a rogue alien on the loose. How do we find it?
Start with a giant fireball?
I love it. Let's start with a giant fireball.
He is much more impressive than the Hedgehog I fought previously.
Dude, I'm standing right here.
You're a colorful bunch.
We don't want to fight you.
Actually, Sonic, I would like to fight.
No, no! My turn. Can we just talk about this? He's too powerful. Sonic! I can't believe I'm saying this, but we need you-know-who.
This is a bad idea.
When has that ever stopped me?
Doctor! We have visitors.
This is sad, Robotnik. Even for you.
We need your help.
On one condition.
What? Do this! If I can't rule the world,
I might as well save it! I need room.
But, sir, I don't have the proper materials.
Found some.
when we're done, there won't be anything left.
Hey, no cheat code! What did you do?
What I had to. Welcome home, my boy.
It's impossible.
Is it?
It couldn't be.
Couldn't it?
I am...
Are you? In the saggy flesh.
You are now listening to the Real Table Podcast with Michael Carter.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Table Podcast with Michael Carter. And it is me, myself, Michael Carter, and it's so good to be here. As always, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about Sonic 3, which is it's doing crazy numbers at the box office, and it's killing Mufasa right now, and I think that was expected. I think I got that feeling going into this weekend that I think Sonic was going to really resonate well with the audiences, and that Mufasa would not. We're going to talk a little bit more about why I think that is, which is, I think, a part of this larger, grander thing that's going on with Hollywood, and more specifically Disney and what they're doing. Disney, it's just going to be interesting to see, like, as we continue to go, as the week continues to progress, as we get into Christmas. There's no big Christmas releases. There's some movies that come out on Christmas, but nothing as massive as Sonic, and nothing as what we thought was as massive, quote unquote, as Mufasa. So it'll be interesting to see what Mufasa does as Christmas begins to roll around. Unfortunately, this is not a Christmas episode, as obviously, and I don't think I'll be able to get to another Christmas episode. So if you're listening to this, this is probably after Christmas is when I'm going to release this. But as always, life just gets in the way, and wasn't able to make any more podcast Christmas episodes for this year, which sucks. But I'm glad that I was able to do a couple. Did the Grinch, both Grinch movies, the more recent one, and then the 2000s one, and then able to do the Polar Express, which is cool. And next year I'm gonna try to hit it a little bit harder and figure out ways to get just a bit more movies involved in on this podcast. But if you haven't listened yet, and if you're still in the Christmas spirit, go back and listen to those episodes and then watch them on YouTube as well. I would appreciate the love and the support, and also share those episodes with other people if you feel so inclined. So yeah, we're going to talk about Sonic today. Sonic 3. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Sonic 3. And then we're also going to do kind of like an end of the year type thing where I'm going to talk about my most anticipated movies of 2025. This might be the last episode of the podcast for the year. 2024 has been really, really good to me. Definitely some ebbs and flows, learning what works and what doesn't work, scheduling, a little bit of social media and advertising tactics, figuring out what that looks like with posting clips and the traction some of those I've been getting. So yeah, just really honing in on that this year, and then next year I really want to go even harder, and I want to hone that in even more and figure out ways to continue to engage with audiences. Because the next year, I say it every year, but I really mean it this year. I really need it for this upcoming year. There's a lot of good movies this year. Next year, a lot of good movies this year. And then we're going to talk about my top 10 list. We're going to talk about what made my top 10 list. All right. So Sonic 3 is killing it at the box office right now. It speaks to 60 million in its debut, while Mufasa gets trampled with 35 million, as reported by Variety. Variety is what I use just to get my metrics and the numbers. I usually go to Variety just to hear what they think. They're really good, and I appreciate them. I appreciate the articles that they put out. So Variety is what I usually go to. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, it's crazy. This character is popular, but I don't think I ever imagined this branding and this IP being as popular as it is. If we go all the way back to the first Sonic trailer, the first movie where there was a completely different animated version of Sonic that really premiered online, and it sent everyone in a frenzy. And I don't think we've ever seen anything like that in Hollywood. Ever. I don't think we've ever seen a trailer come out, people respond in a negative way, and for a company and a movie and a studio like Paramount to go, we're gonna put a pause on this. We're going to put a pause on this, and we're going to rework our design because we want people to enjoy this movie, and we want people to be about this movie. And to be honest, that was probably one of the greatest 360s that I've ever seen a company ever make, maybe in Hollywood history. It's paying dividends right now, right? It's paying dividends. It's opening number one against a Disney film. All across the country. And guess what? It hasn't even opened worldwide yet, which is the biggest thing. It hasn't really even touched worldwide yet. It opens worldwide Christmas Day, I believe. So it has yet to really, we have yet to see its true potential. But I believe Sonic is really could this be $1 billion movie right here? Could this be $1 billion movie? It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see. Yeah, Mufasa didn't do well, 35 million, and it's falling way behind expectations. The expectations was for it to make 50 million, so it's falling way behind, and I think it's even falling behind as terms of if you're comparing it to the first film, the first live action remake. And what's interesting, despite its the mixed reviews, the audience score, cinema score, which is sometimes something that I mentioned on here a few times. I haven't been mentioning it a lot, but I got an A-, which is, the cinema scores. These are actual audience members that walk out the theater and they get, what's the word? Brain fart. They get their opinions, right? They tally what they actually think about the movie. They write that down. So an A- grade for Mufasa, which is pretty solid in the cinema score world. When you're looking at cinema score, and most critics look at cinema score, and sometimes, most of the time, it's pretty like, oh, feels like it's fitting pretty accurate. And then there's other times where a movie that you think is being received well, or you see a lot of reactions, and it's, oh, this is a good reaction, and then sometimes audiences don't really receive it that way. It's always interesting to see the cinema score, but A-. And I think what will help Mufasa in the long run is the word of mouth. If the movie is actually solid, and I've seen some reviews where people are like, "Hey, I'm surprised by this movie. It's actually solid." And I've seen some where some people are like, "Hey, it's different than the first one, obviously, because it's a different story, but it doesn't offer anything remarkable compared to the first one." It'll be interesting to see the word of mouth. I think that'll be the only thing that'll save the box office performance for Mufasa is the word of mouth, right? To hear that people love this movie and that they hear that it's doing well, right? And I think if I remember correctly, that's what Encanto needed. Encanto released, it was not like a big hit, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't a big hit until it got on Disney Plus, when everybody had access to it, and everybody was like, oh, shoot. And all the kids were at home watching it. Let's see. The Mufasa's budget cost more than $200 million to make. $200 million to make, and right now it's not looking too good for Mufasa. To be exact, $260 million. Ugh. That's not good. All right. It's going to be interesting. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That's the first Lion King. But no, it's a little over 200 million, or about 200 million. So it's a little less, 60 million less than the first one. So I think it'll be interesting to see what it does. Because when the first one released, it was everybody was in line to see it. Everybody's in line to go see it. I'm not sure people are excited about this. So it'll be interesting, especially when you look at a movie like Sonic, which is what I want to tip my hat to Paramount about when it comes to Sonic. The budget for all the Sonic movies have been low, right? This movie budget for Sonic 3 is $122 million. That's a solid budget. It's not too big. It's also not too small, right? Sonic 2's budget is about 90 to 110 million. Are we seeing a trend? I think we're seeing a trend, people, right? Now, the first Sonic, 85 to 90 million. Now, again, we're seeing, I hope you're paying attention. You're seeing a trend. Slowly and surely, the budget for each movie has gone up because obviously the success, but the budget has gone up, and it hasn't gone up that much. And when you watch the movie, the amount of CGI, the amount of background, all that stuff, you would think, oh, this is like, this is a Marvel movie. No. Sonic costs substantially less than what some of the Marvel movies make, the 200 plus million budgets that some of these Marvel projects have, right? And it looks really good, and it looks solid, right? I tip my hat to Paramount for making the budgets work. This is a good example of a big franchise that's making the budgets work. Now, I bet when Sonic 4, which has already been announced, I think 2027 is when we'll see Sonic again. In 2027, that budget's going to move up. And as that budget moves up, I think we're going to continue, and I hope, and I feel like we'll continue to get a solid quality with this film. Jeff Fowler, who's directed all three, has been the filmmaker behind it all. And to see the consistency, I bet if he's in line for 4, which he should be, we're going to see the same consistency, higher budget, and I think it's going to be even more worth it, right? Sonic 3. But let's get into Sonic 3, beyond the box office stuff. Sonic 3. And what I loved about this movie, and by the way, I like Sonic 3. I like it. I like it a lot. My issue with Sonic 2 is that I felt like Sonic 2 was it was a lot. It was a lot. The jokes I felt were very, very cheesy, and I get it that the demographic, the audience is for it's for the kids, right? It's for the kids, even for the gamer head that grew up with the Sonic character. But my issue is that it just felt very, very kiddie, very, very goofy at times, which is fine. I think that works, but it didn't feel right to me. Number 2 felt off from the first one, and I was really looking forward to the second one when adding Tails into the mix and adding Knuckles. But Sonic 3, they get back to it. They get back to what I think worked well with the first one, creating a really good story, a really good plot line, and I think it helps having a mature storyline with Shadow in there, introducing Shadow, and there's some trauma, there's some backstory there that really hits home. One of the best parts about the movie, and I think it makes it even better, in my opinion, than the second one. I didn't like the second. Again, I didn't like it as much, and even watched it again, and I was like, yeah, this movie just feels like it's too much for me. Even though it's cool to see the Easter eggs and how it pays homage to the games and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm not digging Sonic 2. But Sonic 3, I was really, really about it. Really, really, really about it. And I love, like, seeing Sonic grow up. For those of you that don't play any Sonic video games, like, Sonic I think he's more mature in the video games. In this one, he feels like he's a kid and he's learning. And in this one, I mean, he kind of is a kid, but in this one, maybe more teenager. In this one, I feel like Sonic 3 tells Sonic to grow up big time. I think he has to wrestle with being what it is to being a hero. He did in number 2, but I think this one way more, because he's wrestling against promises made to friends, right? And he's wrestling with trying to save everyone else, trying to be the hero, and against somebody else that looks just like him, and that's all about rage and it's angry about what the people have done to him, and et cetera, et cetera. So you really see a Sonic that just, he's goofy, he's still silly because he's still Sonic, but he realized it comes real fast where it's like, oh, this is not a game anymore. And you see a different side of him that's really cool to see. Jim Carrey, as always, Jim Carrey is as goofy as can be, and when you put two versions of Jim Carrey in a movie, you're gonna get as goofy as you're gonna get the goofiest of the goofies. And I thought Jim Carrey was, he's Jim Carrey, and it's so interesting to watch him play a character like that. And this is how I know Jim Carrey is a good actor, because you expect when he's goofy, you expect to watch the movie and be like, oh, that's the Grinch, right? But then as you watch this movie, the first one, the second, and even now the third, you see no aspect of the Grinch in Jim Carrey's role, right? And I would even argue in some of his roles, I don't see a lot of the Grinch. I see a different personality. There's the goofiness of what the Grinch does, but he's a completely different character, personality-wise, all that stuff, and that's a mark of a good actor. Where there are some comedians that go into certain movies and you're like, well, I know this character. You played this character a billion times. Jim Carrey is a class act. He's good at what he does, right? Let's see. Adding Keanu Reeves into the mix was great. He was the perfect Shadow. Yeah, I there's no notes for Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, even though it's his voice fits perfectly with who Shadow is. That's the best part about it. I think all this voice cast, it just works out so well. Ben Schwartz, to Idris Elba, like it just works out so well. I love that they can come in and give a cool voice to these characters, and you don't go, well, this feels weird, right? No, it doesn't feel weird. It doesn't feel weird. But yeah, it's so good to watch Sonic 3, and I think it does a really good job of just being even more than a kid movie. Even more than a kid movie. There's that mature side that makes you go, oh, Jeff Fowler and crew and Paramount, they really went that we're gonna up this. We're gonna up this a little bit, and we wanna the low, sad and real parts. We want to play into it, right? And they don't play in it too well, where you get this drastic tone, right? That's also the duality behind it. You can't be too drastic and go super real with this comedy, right? Like it has to make sense. And it wouldn't make sense for this to become super, super real down in the dumps, crying heavy. But they add a nice little touch of the dramaticness to it that it makes a story work. It makes it work. So, hat tip to all the team involved in Sonic 3. Sonic 3 is good. Now, I want to get into some spoilers. If you don't like spoilers, get on out of here and fast forward down the line to where I get to the my most anticipated. So, fast forward down the line to that. All right. Spoilers for Sonic 3. Shadow, just seeing his backstory. I'd never played the Shadow the Hedgehog video game. I never played it. And so a lot of people have played it, and a lot of people mentioned that his backstory was prevalent. Was going to be prevalent in this film, and that the characters that were in his backstory were going to make an appearance and everything like that. And that was Maria, which was the granddaughter of Dr. Robotnik, which is it is. So this Dr. Robotnik is the grandfather. Is it the grandfather? The grandfather of the other Robotnik, which is kind of a little bit confusing in a sense. So he befriends Maria's granddaughter, Gerald's granddaughter, which is cool. And him and his granddaughter kind of formed this cool friendship that you see why Shadow is kind of like the way he is, why he's like, I'm gonna make people pay. And I thought that was really cool to see. It felt very wholesome. And then him and Maria just creating and crafting this relationship that you see in some of these clips. I mean, some of these scenes were really, really cool. And it was like, oh shoot, to see that she dies. And Shadow's just pissed. Shadow's like over it. And he's so mad, and unfortunately he gets imprisoned, and so he's suspended like in a canister thing and a water thing, and he's submerged and he's stuck and he's put to sleep basically, and that's where he's just been holding there for, I think, 40 years was the word that was used, 40 or 50 years, something like that. So it's been a hot minute. So he's just there, suspended. And so the movie starts with him breaking out, which is cool. And to see him fight off some of these agents, some of these guardians, or whatever they call them, and he's using his powers, and it's just like, it's kind of sweet to see Shadow fight. And then it's even better to watch him break out, and then to see him run across the water. Shadow has this kind of like little skate thing. This is what he does, which is different than Sonic. Sonic is more run. Sonic runs, and then where Shadow, he kind of skates, and I loved it. And it was reminiscent of the video game for me, Sonic Adventures 2. If you know that game, you know that game. Sonic Adventures 2 is fire, and everything about it works so well. Just to see Shadow just skate across the water, it's so cool. I also loved seeing Sonic and Shadow fight against each other. Kind of in the first half of the movie, they're fighting, and to see them just running along the buildings and everything like that. Sonic is trying to contend with Shadow, but then Shadow's just a different breed right now. And so Sonic, being young, he gets outmatched by Shadow, and Shadow using his bike was also sweet. Using his bike, using his gun. It was cool. Like you felt like you were watching the stuff that you grew up with as a kid, and I was about all of that. I was about the story. I love that they took us away from Green Hills from the first. I think we were stuck in Green Hills between the first and second, which is fine. But this one, they took us over to, if I'm not mistaken, I think we were in Tokyo. We were in Tokyo, so they sent Team Sonic to Tokyo, and so it's cool to be in Tokyo, to be in this other country, in this other realm, not realm, but other country, which is really cool. So, but yeah, I also love, like, for the movie, you know, after Tom gets hit by Shadow, then this is also a cool part, which is, I'm like, this is good writing, is that Shadow realizes, he's like, oh shoot, it was Tom dressed up as the evil doctor that basically put Shadow where he was, and so he was trying to get to him the whole time. And then Shadow hits him, and it turns back into Tom, and Tom's like, I mean, not Tom. Tom's knocked out, but Shadow's like, oh shoot! Like, you see it on his face. Sonic then comes up, and he's like, hey Tom, and it seems Tom's knocked out, and then Shadow was like, oh shoot, I had to do what had to be done, basically. And then Sonic is like, what did you do? And that's kind of where it kind of takes off from there. It's like Shadow knows deep down that he what he did, he hurt somebody that was innocent, that completely had nothing to do with this, because he was trying to get to, and he ended up being wrong. That was not the person. It was fake. And so to see Shadow kind of, very little, it's like, oh shoot, that was the wrong person. I was tricked. But then again, it clicks back to reality for Shadow, and he's like, I did what had to be done. And then Sonic has to wrestle with Team Sonic, with Knuckles and Tails, on using the Master Emerald to defeat defeat Shadow, and to stop the Robotniks from what they're doing. And Knuckles and Tails was like, no, you can't. And then Knuckles was like, I have somebody of a great warrior that's guarding this emerald. And it's like, okay. Instantly, if you watch the series so far, you know who it is. It's freaking Wade. By the way, I do not like Wade. I do not like Wade's character. I don't think Wade's funny. I don't think he's funny. I think he in my opinion, I just think his character holds up so much space where I'm like, dude, can we find a different character different character that works? Where Wade doesn't work for me. Furthermore, Wade is holding the emerald, and Sonic takes it. So easy. Sonic turns into Gold Sonic, I think is what it's called, Gold Sonic. Or Super Sonic, I should say. Super Sonic, the emerald. And then he goes to confront Shadow, and they duke it out. But then, because Sonic should have known better, Shadow kind of hits Sonic, and he loses, I think, like a couple of the emeralds, or one or two of the emeralds, whatever. And then Shadow is now a super power, basically Super Shadow. Super Shadow. And so now you got Super Sonic and Super Shadow going at each other, and it's the coolest thing in the world. It's so sweet to see them kind of like duke it out. And then there's this moment where they both just sit, and they both knock the emeralds out of each other. No, I think, well, yeah, Sonic knocks, he overpowers Shadow basically, and he can knock Shadow out and kill him. And then Shadow goes, do it. Like he tells him, he's like, go do it, finish the job. And then Sonic stops. It clicks back to reality for Sonic, and he stops, and he's just like, they both have this moment, this emotional moment that I'm like, this is so cool. Like, even again, this is my thing with this movie. Like, even as it being a kids movie, they're not shying too away from the realness, and they're allowing these two characters to be real, to have real emotions and to feel. And you get something real, like from these cartoons, from these animated characters. And that's the power of animation and why I love animation. If you do it right, with the right script, with the right story, you can create something that's deeper than just, oh, they're doing this, flying high, running fast, superpowers, emeralds, all that stuff. Like, you bring it and you can hone it into something that's really, really worth it. And I think that teaches kids something, right? Kids can see something in Sonic and Shadow, see something in the idea of revenge, and see something in Tom gets hurt, but then Sonic, instead of Sonic, yes, he fights fights Shadow, for a while, but then he realizes that at the cusp of a moment, he can control himself and get right back to the reality and go, this is not worth it. This is not me, right? He goes back to this moment that's early on in the movie, where Tom tells Sonic that Long Claw lives in his heart, right? And that's the moment he goes back to with him and Tom, and it causes him to go, this is not it. And so him and Shadow have this moment, and then they end up fighting on the good side, which is super cool. So Sonic 3, man, like all in all, it is a good movie. And I also love that the runtime too. This is the best part about these Sonic movies. It's an hour and 50 minutes, which is not a long movie. For most people, it's not a long movie. And it does what it needs to do. Like, I think there are some moments where I'm like, ooh, I wish the story could elongate here and let us sit here for a little bit. But it does what it needs to do. It hits the right points. You get into the action. You get into the story. There's no waiting. And I think that's they do a good job of that. And it works really well. Jeff Fowler and crew do it really, really well. I'd also like to shout out Pat Casey and Josh Miller. They're the people behind the story. And then Pat Casey, Josh Miller, and John Whittington, who are behind the screenplay. They do a fantastic job of writing this film. And I'm excited to see what happens in the next Sonic. We saw in the post-credit scenes, 2 post-credit scenes. We saw in the post-credit scenes, Rose shows up. Along with Metal Sonic. And then there's another post-credit scene where obviously it hints, because the end of the movie, it shows Ivo Robotnik and Shadow basically going into the black hole to stop this big weapon that was going to destroy a lot of the planet. They go into this black hole, and then we see Shadow. He ends up somewhere else. Black hole takes him somewhere else, and we see him. We see his hand. We see his little wrist things. The little wrist things. He picks it up, and that's how you know he's still alive. Which anybody that knows that Shadow would be still alive. So Sonic 4 comes out in 2027, early 2027 release. I want to call out, like, I think it was a good move for Paramount to release this during Christmas time, and I hope they consider doing it again. I think this is a perfect release time for this character and this IP. Perfect Christmas film, perfect family movie. It works. It's good. Sonic 3, go see that. Go see it. Go run it. All right. Let me see what time I'm at. I think I'm on good time. Am I on good time? I don't see it. I want to say I'm on good time. Oh, I'm only doing this. It's only been 30 minutes. This is good. This is what I like to see. 30 minutes. So let's get into 2025. Right? As what I'm thinking, this is going to be the final episode of the Real Table Podcast for the year. Actually, there's another episode that I might release that I've recorded earlier this year and I didn't release. I might release that just for more content. But we can treat this episode as an episode as, hey, this is the last one that Michael is recording fresh for 2024. So I want to look for 2025. 2025 is going to be a big year for movies. I mean, normally you can say that about any year, but 2025 is an exciting year. I'm excited about the content the content, excuse me, the content that's going to be released. And I'm going to talk about my top 25, right? Number 10, clocking in at number 10. Number 10 was hard. Marvel's releasing 3 movies next year. Marvel's getting right back on the train. And they're going to be releasing 3 movies next year, right? Marvel took a long hiatus. There's a whole long thing about the state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and where it's at. Marvel's taking some time to reevaluate Kevin Feige and team, and I'm hoping and I'm really praying. I don't know, Kevin might not ever stumble upon this clip or this podcast, but I'm hoping, like fingers crossed for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm hoping that the delays, like they made it worth it. I hope the content is quality, and I hope they just do a good job. I think there's been a lot of feedback and criticism of the MCU lately, but at this point, I'm in the MCU. I'm still watching these movies because I want to enjoy it. I want to have fun. I'm not looking for this most remarkable movie. I'm not looking for it to be clean and great. You can demand more out of your product, but still find ways to enjoy it. And that's just what I am, especially as a superhero fan. So, clocking in at number 10 is Captain America Brave New World. It's almost a Thunderbolts, because I like the Thunderbolts trailer a lot more than the content that I've seen from Captain America Brave New World. But as a black male and as a black man, I'm excited to see a black version of Captain America on the big screen. I think this has potential to still be really, really good at the end of the day. And I think the numbers are going to show up because it's something different. Usually with Captain America, we're used to Chris Evans. We're used to Steve Rogers, and I've seen many tweets talking about bring Steve back. And it's like, no, don't bring Steve back. That story's over, right? We've had 3 movies with Steve as Captain America in the role of Captain America, right? Or just not 3 movies, but like 3 Captain America movies. So this is Anthony Mackie's time, and I'm excited to see Captain America Brave New World, even though there's been a lot of question marks behind the filming and behind the scenes. Either way, I'm excited to see it. Number 9, don't know too much about this, but I know it's directed by Guillermo del Toro. Frankenstein. I'm really excited about Frankenstein. I don't know if I'm gonna say I'm really excited about Frankenstein, but I'm curious about Frankenstein. I think there was a Frankenstein movie that came out way back. Sometime in the last decade it came out. But Guillermo del Toro has proven to be a really, really solid filmmaker. For those of you who don't know his films, he's done Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, The Shape of Water, and even Pinocchio. There's a Pinocchio stop-motion animated film that released on Netflix. He did that, and it's really good. And I find him to just be a really good filmmaker. He has a specific, distinct vision, and he just does a really good job with it, right? Pacific Rim is also another one, the first Pacific Rim. So I'm excited about his take on Frankenstein, right? Oscar Isaac is supposed to be in it. Ralph Ineson is supposed to be in it. Mia Goth. So I'm excited to see what that entails, and that could possibly be an awards player down the line for next year. We'll see. Not next year, but for 2026. But we'll see. So that would be on my number 9, and that was one that I've forgotten about, and I wasn't going to put it in my top 10, but I'm like, Guillermo del Toro always, he always does a good job with his films. So Frankenstein at number 9. Also, Captain America Brave New World opens up in February next year. I forgot to mention that. That's going to be like one of the first bigger movies that I'll be covering, so be on the lookout for that. And then Frankenstein, I don't think Frankenstein has a release date yet. So yeah, excited about that Frankenstein and to see what Del Toro has cooked up for this. Number 8 is F1. F1. It's an F1 film. I don't know if it's going to be titled F1 with Brad Pitt. It's about a Formula 1 driver who comes out of retirement to mentor a team with a younger driver. Really pumped about this one. Joseph Kosinski, Joseph Kosinski, who directed more famously Top Gun Maverick. If you know Top Gun Maverick, one of the biggest movies of the last decade, he's directing this with Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem, Damon Idris, Kerry Condon. It's going to be I think this is going to be a really, really fun movie to take in. I'm excited about it. Simone Ashley is in it if you watch Bridgerton. So I'm pretty pumped about this film, and they've been filming it for a long time. It finally wrapped up. I think they started in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I'm excited to see what this film is going to do. Joseph does a fantastic job directing, if you remember Top Gun Maverick. So I'm excited to see what this film does. Yep. Be on the lookout for that one. That one's release date. I don't think that one has a release date either. Actually, it does. June 25th. Well, in Italy. There's parentheses. In Italy, it's June 25th. In U.S., June 27th. There it is. June 27th, release date. And it'll also be an IMAX. I think there's a trailer out for this one. And I think if you watch the trailer, and again, if you've seen Top Gun Maverick, Joseph has a distinct style when it comes to filming, and I think it's going to bode well for an F1 racing movie. So, pump for F1. That's number 9. Or, excuse me, number 8. Number 7 is the Michael Jackson movie. I am slightly optimistic about this movie, but at the same time, it's a biopic, and like, I don't know, I sit in this space where I'm like, is this going to be good? Like, it's like, are they going to do well with this movie, or are they like, is this going to be like, it's going to be good? I think biopics are so hard nowadays to do well and to do different and to be unique with, where I'm hoping that this has some type of distinct uniqueness to it. Antoine Fuqua is directing this one. If you know Antoine Fuqua, which some of you do, a lot of these directors that I'm going to say, I feel like some of you guys have known their films and known their work. Antoine Fuqua is he's known for working a lot with Denzel, Training Day, The Equalizer, The Magnificent Seven, and then more recently he did Emancipation with Will Smith. So Antoine is a really solid filmmaker. He's a black filmmaker, which I like to put out there. He's a black filmmaker. So I'm excited to see what he can do with this. Like, Michael Jackson is obviously one of the greatest artists of our generation, easily top 3, top 2, right? His presence, his impact is global. So I think this movie has the chance, which I'm curious to see how it does. It has the chance to be one of, if not one of, the biggest hit of 2025. And I only say that because it's Michael Jackson, right? Coleman Domingo stars as Joe Jackson, Miles Teller, Nia Long, Lawrence Tate is in this, Laura Harrier. Like, there's a solid cast here. And I'm excited. And then his nephew, Jafar Jackson, is portraying him. So it's going to be interesting to see like what they do with this, and to see like his nephew being portraying his uncle. So I'm intrigued, really intrigued by this. Antoine Fuqua is a solid director. I think this could be a good one. This could be, if it does well, this is going to be a hit. But I think marketing, I mean, you're marketing a Michael Jackson movie, people are going to show up, but I'm curious to see quality, right? Will this be a quality film? That's going to be the question. And I think the fact that the estate of Michael Jackson, which is really, really, I think they're picking on a lot of things. I think the fact that they had greenlit this movie and that they're like, we're going to do this, I think it's going to be interesting. I think that there's some validity to it being probably good. And if not good, then it's going to be at least okay, right? But again, with the state of biopics, it's hard to get on board and be excited because you're seeing a lot of biopics, a lot in this last 5 to 10 years. We've seen so many that's like, another one. But I'm hoping this one can bring enough, can separate itself from the big pit of so many biopics that we get something that's really worth engaging in, right? So, intrigued for that one. Michael comes in at number 7. Number 6, Jurassic World Rebirth. I said on a previous episode, I wrestled with Jurassic World, mostly because I'm burnt out of that franchise. I think that franchise had a good start with Jurassic World and had no idea where to go with the next 2 films. It had no idea what it wanted to do. Bringing the old cast back was cool, but it did not feel like a remarkable moment. It felt like it fell flat. So, Jurassic World Rebirth, right? Rebirth, directed by Gareth Edwards. Now, Gareth Edwards is a big name. This is what the franchise needed. This franchise needed a big name to come in and work this film. It just needed one. It needed to give some people something to be excited about if you pay attention to director credits. So I think Gareth Edwards is a solid name that can really propel this film and give this franchise something more. He directed Rogue One, The Creator, and Godzilla, the first Godzilla back in 2014. The Creator more recent, where The Creator was praised for its visual effects. And so I know Gareth Edwards is going to take good care of the visual effects in this film, and I know the cinematography is going to be pretty good on this one. So Jonathan Bailey, who just was in Wicked, Jonathan Bailey, who was just in Wicked, he stars in this film along with Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Rupert Friend, Ed Skrein. Any more notable names? I think that's it on the notable names front. But I'm intrigued to see if they can really give this franchise a much needed energy, because I think the last 2, argue it all, the last 2 is pretty mediocre, and it felt pretty flat. So Jurassic World coming in at number 6. Number 5, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I don't need to say too much on Mission Impossible. You know Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is going to do his thing. I was talking to a friend who actually felt like, he was like, I'm tired of Mission Impossible movies. And I'm like, he's like, it's the same thing. And it's like, yes, the Mission Impossible movies are the same thing. The difference is they put a good story to it. You know, the whole point is to save the world. You know, at the end of the day, Tom Cruise is going to save the world, right? But the point is that it does enough to make it different. It does enough to make it unique. There's always an interesting story, right? The craftsmanship behind these movies are always unique. And so this one is looking like it's going to be the final one, which I don't know if it actually will be. It's going to be the final one. I've got a lot of high hopes riding on this one with Tom Cruise, right? And with a killer cast in Hannah Waddingham, Haley Atwell, Vanessa Kirby. Let's see. Ving Rhames is going to be in this one. Simon Pegg is going to be in this one. Nick Offerman is going to be in. I mean, this is going to be a big cast, and it's going to be a big film. So I'm feeling really good about Mission Impossible. I don't think Dead Reckoning, the first Dead Reckoning, it was supposed to be Dead Reckoning Part 1. But I don't know if it's basically Dead Reckoning Part 1. It didn't get the love that it needed. It was really good. I don't think it was better than Fallout. But it was really good, and I don't think it got the love that it needed. I think it got the love that it needed, or the love that it even deserved. And that's unfortunate, because it came out around Barbie and Oppenheimer and that whole thing. I think they should have gave it a way different release date for it to really, really soar. But that's number 5, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Which, by the way, I've been forgetting to announce these release dates. Y'all gotta forgive me. I'm so excited about talking about which one of these movies is which. Let's go back. Michael comes out October 2025. October 3rd, 2025. That's Michael. Jurassic World. Rebirth. Where's it at? I feel like this is a summer release date as always. Yep, July 2nd for Jurassic World. And then the one that I just talked about, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, is going to take on May 3rd, or excuse me, May 23rd, 2025. So May release date, which I think that could bode well for this franchise. I think this franchise is used to May. I think. Don't quote me on that. So, all right, Mission Impossible clocking in at 5. Number 4, Avatar: Fire and Ash. Avatar: Fire and Ash. If you saw Avatar: The Way of Water, you know how good that movie is. I'm excited for this one because this is going to take place and it's going to be with a Fire Nation within the world of the Na'vi. So we've experienced, in the first one, we experienced a tribe that was in the forest, more in the forest areas. Second one, tribe in the water areas, and now we get to experience a tribe in the fire, like a fire Na'vi crew, and it's going to be exciting. I'm excited about this one. I don't think there's more I need to say about it. Avatar: Fire and Ash. I'm pretty pumped about this one. Release date for this one, December 19th, 2025, which is prime because that's Christmas time. That's Christmas time. This movie is going to eat at the box office at Christmas time. Fire and Ash. Fire and Ash. Clocking in at 4. Number 3, Wicked for Good. Wicked for freaking good. I think I'm pumped about this one just to see how the story wraps up. After I saw Wicked for a second time, I listened to the whole Broadway soundtrack, and I just had to know what was I going to walk into for the second one, and I'm intrigued to see what they do. The second act is not as long. It's not as long as the first act, so it's going to be interesting to see, obviously it's a movie, how much they add to it to give it some more length, to give it more body, right? It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that and the arrangements and the iconic song for Good. What they do with that is going to be, it's everything. Again, the movie title is Wicked for Good. Everything is resting on this song. Wicked for Good comes out November 21st. So it's again taking that Thanksgiving holiday realm like it did this year, which is perfect and it's smart. And if you're any big tentpole film, in my opinion, if you're anything big, stay away from that November date. Don't compete with Wicked. Don't compete with it. Maybe don't compete with the week before. Maybe the week before it could do well. Any other film could do well before Wicked, but then the week after, November 21st, that weekend, don't do it. The weekend after, don't do it. Come in 2 weeks into December to do something. To do something that's worth it. That's number 3. Number 4, number 2, the Fantastic Four: First Steps. Obviously, big superhero guy over here. You know how I feel. The Fantastic Four has been on the big screen 3 times. The last time the Fantastic Four was on the big screen was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Call it how you see it. We're not going to talk about that film. I've got people that have never seen that film. I had a friend one time, I don't know if he ever watched it, but he said he'd never seen it, but he was intrigued to watch it. And I told him, I said, don't watch it. Don't watch that film. That film is horrible. So the Fantastic Four's First Steps is huge for Marvel. It's huge for Marvel because I think this is pushing Marvel into a new era, right? It's bigger than Captain America. It's bigger than even the Thunderbolts that's coming out next year, which I'm also excited about, but just barely did not make my top 10 list. But the Fantastic Four: First Steps is huge because the Fantastic Four is the group, the family, the Marvel's first family is a huge it's a huge impact and has huge impact in the Marvel universe in general. Beyond, we're not talking movies here. We're talking strictly comics. And I believe Kevin Feige is going to want these guys to be the forefront of the future of the MCU, right? We know where we're headed. If you read the comics and if you're kind of being aware, we're getting to the tail end of this multiverse stuff. So to see how the Fantastic Four ultimately plays into wrapping up this multiverse storyline that's been very convoluted. I don't even know if that's a word. It's just been very bloated. That's the better word that I want to use. It's just been, feels like it's been all over the place. People haven't been connecting well. I want people to connect well with these characters. I hope that people do connect well with these characters. I also want to connect well with these characters. So the Fantastic Four: First Steps is huge. Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Ebon Moss, Baccarat. These four are huge players going forward in the Marvel Universe, and I hope this movie does well. Matt Shankman, or Shackman, I should say. He's known for WandaVerse. He had a huge hand in WandaVerse. WandaVision. And he directed, I don't know if he directed all the episodes. He directed the first 2 episodes. I think he directed the first 2 episodes. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But he directed enough. And he's helped enough with Marvel. And then Kevin Feige's going to give him the reins on this movie. So, Fantastic Four, First Steps. We'll see that movie in July 25th, 2025. Did I announce another movie coming out July 25th, 2025? Hold. I think I announced another movie coming out that day. Jurassic World? No. Jurassic World is not July 25th. It's July 2nd. I thought there was another movie I announced. You guys can quote me on that if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm going crazy. I thought I announced another movie coming out that day. Maybe I didn't. Either way, that's another movie where I would be careful if I'm a studio to even touch, because there's some hype building around this film. There's some hype, there's some skepticism, because many people have said that Fantastic Four doesn't work. So Fantastic Four is clocking in at number 2. Number 1 should come as no surprise after the release of the teaser trailer. Superman, James Gunn's Superman, lands at number 1, entering into the world, this new DC world where, again, the general audiences have to care about this film, have to care about these characters. This film sets the standard. It has to land big for this new era of DC films. DC has lost a lot of money through, in my opinion, through a lot of its films failing. Batman is, if anything, is keeping the lights on. Batman is keeping the lights on. So Superman is going to be huge. It's my most anticipated movie of the year. I'm excited. There's other movies that I'm really, really excited about, but it just didn't make the list right now, but I'm super excited. So if you're watching this on YouTube, comment. Let me know what you're most excited about in 2025. If it's a movie I didn't announce that you're excited about, put that out there. Let me hear it, because there's always tons of movies that are coming out, tons of things that are being announced, and I forget, but this is the list that I have. And if you're excited about one of the things that I talked about, tell me why you're excited about it. Right? Okay. All right. 54 minutes we're clocking in. Probably going on 55 and maybe 56. No, probably 55. Because I'm wrapping up right here on the Real Table Podcast. This is it. I think this is going to be it for 2024. I'll be surprised if I do another episode before then. There's no time. Christmas is coming. I'm going out of town, and I won't be back till January, folks. I won't be back till January. It's kind of sad. So, fam, I love you guys so much, and I appreciate everybody that clicks onto these videos, that have interacted with me on any of my videos on TikTok, Instagram Reels. I'm now putting videos on YouTube Shorts, and even if you're watching these videos and you're listening in your car or wherever, I really, really love and I appreciate you. Your kindness, just to take the time out, just to support me, whether you know me or not. I value that so much. That's why I have to do this. That's why I keep doing this, because I love connecting with all of you. And next year, it's going to be crazy with all the movies. And I want to be able to cover it all. And that might not happen, but I think we're going to cover all the major stuff. And I want you to stay right here with me on the Real Table Podcast. And we want to talk more movies, right? Also, if you're a writer, if you love to write and you want to write about movies, hit my line. DM me. I would love to post your work on my site, therealtable.com. I haven't been writing in a long time, but I'm trying to get back to it if time lets me, right? So I want to get back into writing and writing my thoughts and writing reviews. But if you're a writer, you want to write and you can contribute to The Real Table, please reach out, and I can even get you on the podcast too, to make you a part of this Real Table team. I'm always looking for new people to contribute. Other than that, folks, thank you so much. And I'm going to see you in 2025. Next episode will be in 2025. Have a good new year. Go see a movie, right? There's also tons of stuff that's out on streaming. There's a lot of movies. Again, this podcast won't be able to cover every ounce of content, but there are things to watch and there are things to enjoy. Please go indulge, right? Go indulge. But also spend time with family and friends this holiday season. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And y'all, I'm going to see y'all in 2025 for the Real Table Podcast. I will see y'all soon. Y'all be good out there. Peace. Once again, thank y'all so much for joining me today on the Real Table Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and even comment. I want to hear your thoughts and I want to hear your opinions. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Real Table Pod and on Twitter at The Real Table. And don't forget to also check me out on therealtable.com for news, articles, and reviews. I will see y'all soon. Peace.